welcome to another episode of Let's Talk with Chisom. My name is Chisom Manoro, and we'll be having a 6 plus 1 moment. So if you follow my YouTube channel, you'd have seen our post on the 6 plus 1 moment. So in case this is your first time on my YouTube channel, probably you're not aware that we had a book launch. So yes, we just launched a book, my book, 6 plus 1 Lessons from the Eyes of the Storm. So guys, disclaimer, just in case you can hear a dog barking at the background, it is not my dog, oh, right? It's not my dog. Okay, it's for my neighbor, but it can be really annoying. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. So I launched my book, 6 plus 1 Lessons from the Eyes of the Storm. And during the book launch, someone said that she felt that 6 plus 1 was the number of people of my, as in she thought probably it was the number of people in my family. She was kind of curious to find out what it means. So 6 plus 1 is, the name was gotten from a place in the scripture, that's Job chapter 5, verse 19, that says, I will deliver you in 6 troubles, and even in 7, no evil will come near you. So that's the 6 plus 1. So that's where the name 6 plus 1 came from. So the 6 plus 1 moment is basically those times when you feel overwhelmed, those times when you feel exhausted, those times when you feel like, I'd already day, surrounded by so much trouble, and then there's an extra one because the 7th one is like the perfection of the trouble, right? So we'll be discussing 6 plus 1 moment from the book. We'll be also looking at insights from the book every Saturday, as we've always had our live. And of course, from time to time, we'll have guests coming to share as well. So on that note, let's go straight into the 6 plus 1 moments for today. So just in case you have not subscribed, please click the subscribe button and like this video so you know when we post more edifying content, because trust me, we post edifying content. Okay, so you can check our videos and you see that yes, we post edifying content. So when you click the subscribe button, the algorithm will help our videos to get so more people that need to hear this word. Thank you so much. Yeah, God bless you. So our 6 plus 1 moments today. So I'll be sharing a 6 plus 1 moment, something that happened to me. It was a vigil. I remember it was shortly after my hubby had passed, and we're in this vigil, and worship was going on, and I was blank, just the way I was like I think few months after hubby had passed, so I was blank, like totally blank, and I couldn't just relate. I was having this beef with God. I was angry with God. I felt God had cheated me. I felt I was disappointed in God, even though I did not have the boldness and the liver to act it out, right? It was just in my head. I couldn't act it out. I didn't know what else to do. So I would literally just bring myself to church or to church gatherings and just stay there and cry and not even understand why I'm there or what I'm doing there, because I'm like, God, I don't get it. Now, why did I have this beef with God? It wasn't just because Bobby died. Now, there's a story to it. If you read this book in chapter 4, that's 44, it's kind of chapter 4, verse 44, right? Remind me. So I told the story of when Bobby was ill, and then he went to his supposed herbal practitioner. And when we got there, we discovered that the herbal practitioner was not a herbal practitioner, it was like a juju priestess. And we got in, and we saw everything, the fetish stuff and everything. And I and hubby made the decision that we're not going to go ahead with that line of cure, because at the time he was really ill, and the ailment was defying medical treatment. So people were like, hey, let's explore other sources. So but at that point we decided, you know what, we're just going to trust God. Now let me tell you like another backstory to that trusting God, right? So the backstory to that trusting God was this. When I was pregnant for my third child, I remember I sent my neighbor's help on an errand to buy something. She was in my house, so we needed to get something to just cook real quick. So we asked her to go down the street, which was not unusual, right? She was about 8 at the time. So we sent her and 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. Before he even thought 2 hours, we became worried. We went out to look for her. Her name was Favor. And then, we started asking questions because we couldn't find her. It's just in the streets, just like 2 blocks away from the house. And we couldn't see her. So it was something. When we started asking questions, we found out that she was kidnapped. And we had to make entry to the police. Of course, I didn't go because I was pregnant. So each time, as in when they went to the police was like, who sent her out? Of course, it was me. But because I was pregnant and it was like a high risk pregnancy, because I'd had some miscarriages before that time. So, of course, nobody wanted to bring me to the police station like my hobby and this friend of mine, she wouldn't want to tell. They were like, it doesn't matter that she was there and everything. So the pressure was on me and hobby because if this girl wasn't found no more, I would get to come that police station and wouldn't know what to tell the parents of this girl, right? So people start coming up with options and ideas that we needed to, some said get egg, find her slippers, go to the last place she was seen, break the egg, do all sorts of fetish stuff. And, we just decided that, remember I and hubby, and my late hubby having that conversation and we were like, you know what, if God cannot save us, then let's just stay. And we just prayed and trusted God, like the 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I think this happened like on a Thursday or Wednesday. And thankfully, on the Saturday of that week, we were waking with this shouts. The whole neighborhood was screaming because Favor was found. God brought her back to us and it was a huge testimony. So why did I tell that story? Right? I and hubby had the faith that, hey, God is going to come through for us because we chose to trust Him and not the fetish things, right? So that's what we chose to do. And we're like, hey, because we trusted God, because we chose to stick it out, all the people that chose to stick it out, I wouldn't say all, because if we look at the apostles, they took it out, right? But they didn't live to tell the story, apart from John, of course. So, excuse me, excuse me. So people like the Hebrew boys, we always tell their story. They stood for Christ, and in standing for Christ, God came through for them. God came through for them, and we're like, hey, because we stood for Christ and we did not. Everyone was like, oh, just some you guys, because you guys believe God, God's going to come through. So I had that expectancy, I had that hope that hey, because we stood for God, or more. God's going to use more of our faith because we chose to go into the fire. God's going to come through, but He did not. And hobby passed. So at that point, I felt God cheated me. God had lied to me. God, God, if you are good, why did you allow him to die? If you are faithful and you are the God that heals, why didn't you heal him? So it's something that the devil kept rubbing in my face. And that's one thing about the devil. He will just keep bringing it. So each time I come to pray or I come to church, it's like those thoughts just keep coming. And it's like, God is not faithful. You say God is faithful. Why didn't He save your husband? Why are you still serving Him? Why are you still following Him? Why are you even here? Why are you even in this video? What are you doing? So I was in that place for some months. And you know what I've realized? What we do at this point is what determines what comes out of that whole scenario. Now, the scripture tells us that all things work together for the good of them that love God. And for every crushing season that we go through, there is a desired output. Now, anytime the person that is going to, like the vine dresser, gets the vine and then he crushes it in the wine press, the end goal is that there's going to be wine, right? So imagine that the grape at some point in the whole process, like, no, this is crazy. I thought that, after the harvest, that's it. Why am I here? Why am I being crushed? Why am I going through this season? And then the grape, grape for some reason finds legs and hands and jumps out of the place and say, you know what, I'm done. So of course, it's going to stay half processed, and then the wine that is the intent of the owner of the vineyard is not going to comfort. So you find out that the whole process is cut short and the end game. For me, see how I play it in my head. You've gone through this process. You were trained, when you were still on the tree, and then you were harvested, all the processes of, I'm not really into agri, but I know that it can be very cumbersome and all that, and then the grape is here. You're just at the very tail end. You could just wait a little longer and then you're good. For me, in my head, I'm like, what if that night when Job, like the day that God chose to turn things around for Job, what if Job didn't know that was the day that Job said, you know what, I'm done? What if, take for instance, David, when he was being chased like a fugitive and everything, what if, like the day before the Israelites gathered together and were like, we're going to turn the king. What if the day before that day, David was like, you know what, I'm done? What if Joseph, the day before Pharaoh had that dream, decided, you know what, I'm done serving God. I'm just going to leave this, this whole church thing and the God of my fathers and no worship again. What if they had done that? We never can tell when we are close to the finish line, and there's something the devil does when he knows that you are close to it. So it makes the pain become so unbearable. He makes the anguish to become so tremendous, and you feel like I can't take it anymore. So for me, it's just pain in my head, like, so what if this is just that time? Why don't you wait a while longer? You never can tell how the story is going to end, right? So, sorry, I had to digress a bit. So, the grape is meant to be crushed and then the wine comes out. That is the intent of the vine dresser. That is what he wanted from the beginning. So, what am I trying to say? If we are going through that crushing season and then we feel like I can't do this anymore, and then we back out, the whole essence has been defeated. So it's like the whole work has gone to naught. That's what I just wanted to mention in that area. And then, this part where we just trust God that God is there for me. Now, waiting I want that God will do for me. The truth of the matter is that God exists for himself and we exist for God, not the other way around. God does not exist for us, we exist for God. And understanding that we are part of his grand plan and we should subject our will, our desires, our whatever it is to his plan, it just changes the whole orientation, it changes the whole landscape, it changes our understanding and gives us a different view of why we are here, and gives you a different understanding of why am I going through what I'm going through. So that is what God did for me on that very day. That vigil while I was in church, not knowing why I was there, not knowing what I was still doing with God when we still had a beef, because I felt, God, you are not faithful, right? Just because of that one incident. So even though that doesn't even make sense. So of course it was in my head because I didn't have the boldness to act it out, and I would still go to church regardless. So I remember that vigil. The Lord just said to me, it was like Rema. The Lord said to me, he said, you worship me for who I am and not for what I give you and not for what I do for you. It's not as if I've not heard this before. It sounds like a cliche, right? But that day it was tremendous. It came with lights. I was like, wow. It was like, as in, I remember my pastor's wife, she could literally notice the zest with which I started worshiping. There was this life that came through me because for the past few months, after our hobby passed, it was like, no. This God cannot be trustworthy. This God cannot be faithful. How person go use to brag like that and then you just for my hand, right? So at that point, when the Lord said that to me, he didn't just say it. He brought it as Rema. It became too real to me. I could touch it, I could feel it. And then I understood that I worship God for who He is and not for what He has done for me. So I just want to encourage anyone that is going through that phase in their life. Probably you have a beef with God. Probably you are at that phase where you're like, God, I trusted you. God, I went into the fire just like the Hebrew boys, and you're supposed to come through for me. What happened? You disappointed me. You left me in the middle of the road. Well, I just want to let you know that God didn't leave you. God did not leave you. Because I remember the story of this man that said when God was to show him the path of his life, he noticed that at some point, it was 2 feet, 2 feet, like that's 4 feet, of course, a pair of feet and then another pair. So he said, but at some point, he noticed it was only 1 feet, like a pair, like 2 feet, footprints rather. And then he asked the Lord, say, why am I seeing only 2 feet? And he was telling God that, you see, this phase of my life was the toughest phase of my life, and from what I can see, it's just one footprint, so it means it was only mine. And the Lord said to him, no, that was not his footprint, that was God's own footprint, because at that phase, God was carrying him. But for the man, he felt like that was the toughest season of his life. And you know, when you're going through that season of your life, when you feel like this is the toughest, you have no idea the resource that heaven is releasing for you at that time. If only God would open our eyes to see, like the prophets in the Bible, when the armies came to fight them, and then he said to his servant, he said, when God opened his eyes, he saw the soldiers. If only God opened our eyes to see the resource that is releasing to us that season. If only the Lord will open your eyes to see that you're not walking in this phase of your life, He's carrying you. If only the Lord will open your eyes to let you know that His strength is made available in your weakness. If only the Lord will open your eyes to see it. And many times we don't get to see it when we are going through that phase, and it can be really discouraging. So I just want to encourage you, if you're going through that 6+1 moment in your life, just stay encouraged and just know that it's a crushing season and it will pass. The actions that you take at this point will determine what the outcome will be. If a vessel is being passed through fire, and then the vessel at some point is like, you know what, I'm done. The vessel has not gotten to the point of purification, so the whole process is cut halfway. And once it's cut halfway, of course, it can't be used by the goldsmith or whatever the person is, whether it's a silver. I don't know what silver. I don't know that it's silversmith, but the goldsmith. So you can imagine the gold and the dross, and then the whole gold is not completely purified. Of course, you wouldn't buy it. If somebody were to put it on the shelf, of course you wouldn't buy it. So I just want to encourage you to stay through, stay strong. Even if you don't understand, keep coming before His presence. Even if you feel like God has cheated you, just if you don't know what to do, just stay there and cry. Just vent. Tell Him how you feel. He understands. Tell Him what you are thinking at that point. He just bear it out to Him. And I just want you to know that He is carrying you. I just want you to know that He's holding you, because God, He does not lie. If He says that His thoughts for you are of good and not of evil, to bring you to an expected end, excuse me, even that tough situation, that adversity, that challenging phase of your life will definitely bring you to God's expected end. So be encouraged. While going through that 6+1 moment, be encouraged and know that He will deliver you from 6 troubles. And even in 7, let me read it exactly the way it's written here. It said, He will rescue you from 6 troubles. Even in 7, evil will not touch you. Job chapter 5, verse 19. I hope that this place encourages you. I hope that this place strengthens you. Even when you don't understand what's going on, even when you feel like you have sticked it out for God, even when you feel like you believed Him, even when you feel like you've done all, and then you feel like, God, this is not what I deserve. The Lord is crushing you, and from that season of crushing, something beautiful is going to come out. And when He's done, when you look back, hindsight, you're like, oh, now I understand the reason why the Lord made me to pass through this season. I hope that this short talk has been a blessing to you. If you have any question, please drop it in the comment section. And if you have any concerns, please drop it as well. Let us know those 6 plus 1 moments, even if it's just one, how were you able to pull through? Just give us a nugget, give us an insight, give us a word that the Lord gave you at that point, because I believe that in sharing it, it will definitely encourage someone else. My name is Chisomo Anolo. God bless you.